This is the most important week for apartment owners since the June Fed meeting. The Federal Reserve announces its rate decision Tuesday afternoon. We also get the advance estimate of second quarter GDP and the PCE inflation report, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. All three land this week. And the housing data that dropped on Friday tells us something important about where your tenants are coming from. I'm Shafiq Hirani, MBA CCIM. This is your Apartment Navigator weekly market briefing. Let me walk you through what happened last week, what to watch for this week, and what it all means for your building. If these weekly breakdowns help you make better decisions about your building, hit subscribe and give this a like. And drop a comment with your take on the Fed this week. Let's get into it. On Friday, the new home sales report landed, and it confirmed what apartment owners should already know. The single-family housing market is struggling, and that struggle is your demand story. The median new home price fell to $398,300, the lowest level since last July. That is down from $412,000 in May. Builders are cutting prices, building smaller homes, and 63% are offering incentives just to move inventory. Builder confidence fell to 34 in July. Single-family construction starts are down 5% year-to-date, and the National Association of Home Builders is forecasting a 3% decline for the full year. Meanwhile, multifamily starts jumped 17.2% year over year. That tells you exactly where the demand is flowing. When people cannot afford to buy, they rent. When builders cannot sell homes, they build apartments. The affordability crisis is not easing, it is deepening, and every month it continues, the demand floor under your apartment building gets stronger. One number I want you to remember: consumer sentiment hit 44.8 in May, one of the lowest readings in years. It has recovered slightly to 54.4, but that is still fragile. People are not confident about the economy right now, and that uncertainty keeps them renting instead of buying. The inflation reprieve from June's CPI report is already under threat. Oil is back to around $87 a barrel for Brent crude after the Iran ceasefire collapsed. Gas prices are holding near $4 a gallon. July's inflation numbers, which will come out next month, are expected to climb again. The NAHB put it bluntly in their report this week. Inflation remaining in the 3% range likely eliminates any hope of a Federal Reserve rate cut for 2026. On top of that, the administration is pursuing new tariff measures after the Supreme Court struck down the prior system, which adds another layer of cost pressure. For apartment owners, this means two things. Your operating costs, everything from materials to insurance to contractor pricing, are not coming down anytime soon, and your refinance rate stays elevated. Mortgage rates are sitting at 6.8%, which keeps the homeownership barrier firmly in place for your tenants. The main event is Tuesday. The Fed is widely expected to hold rates at 3.5 to 3.75%. That is not the story. The story is what Warsh says in his press conference and what the statement signals about the rest of the year. At the June meeting, the vote was unanimous to hold, but 9 members projected a hike. The easing bias was removed entirely. If this meeting confirms that stance, we are looking at rates staying right here or moving higher through the end of 2026. If there is any softening in the language, any hint that the inflation data is giving them room to pause the tightening talk, the 10-year Treasury could ease, and that would be directly good for your refinance rate. Later this week, we also get the advance estimate for second quarter GDP and the PCE inflation report. GDP growth is expected to pick up from the weak first quarter. PCE will tell us whether the June CPI improvement was confirmed or whether energy prices have already pushed inflation back up. These three data points together, the Fed decision, GDP, and PCE, will set the tone for the rest of the summer. So here is how I read this week. The housing market is confirming that apartment demand is not going away. Builders are struggling, buyers are hesitant. Single-family starts are declining while multifamily starts are surging. That is the structural demand story underneath your building, and it strengthened again this week. But the rate and inflation picture remains uncertain. Oil is back up, tariffs add pressure, the Fed is hawkish. You cannot control any of that. What you can control is your NOI. Every dollar of income you recover, every vendor contract you rebid, every utility cost you recapture shows up on the day you refinance. The owners tightening their buildings right now are the ones positioned for whatever this week's Fed decision brings. Quick example. I worked with an owner, David, who has a 9-unit building. While the market was uncertain, we found $24,000 in annual income he was leaving on the table. He recovered it over a few months, and his refinancing math changed completely. Not because rates moved, because his building was producing more. That is the kind of work that pays off in any rate environment. Here is what I would do this week. 3 things. 1. Watch Tuesday's Fed decision and Warsh's press conference. I will break it down for you in a midweek update, so make sure you are subscribed. 2. Download my free NOI leak audit checklist. Whether the Fed holds or signals a hike, this is the work that protects your building. Link in the description. 3. If you are 6 to 24 months from a refinance or sale, book a free 15-minute NOI diagnostic with me. In a market this uncertain, clarity on your own building is the most valuable thing you can have. I'm Shafiq Hirani. This has been your Apartment Navigator weekly market briefing. I'll see you midweek with the Fed breakdown. Until then, keep navigating.